The stars stretched like white lines outside the viewport of the exploration cruiser Odyssey. Lieutenant Daniel Cross stood at his console, listening to the steady hum of the engines. It was supposed to be a quiet patrol. No threats, no alarms, just empty space near the neutral border. Daniel sipped lukewarm coffee and checked the communication channels. Everything was normal. The crew joked softly behind him. The captain reviewed survey maps. In the distance, a red-orange nebula glowed like fire trapped in the dark. But then, a soft, static buzz cut through the calm. Daniel frowned. He adjusted the frequency. The noise grew louder, like whispers underwater. A faint signal blinked on his screen. Unregistered, approaching fast. "Captain," Daniel said, his voice sharp now. "We have incoming." The captain walked over, eyes narrowing. "Identify." "I can't. No transponder." No response to hails. Daniel's fingers flew over the keys. "Multiple signatures, fast!" The bridge lights shifted to red. An alarm echoed down the corridors. Outside, the void began to shimmer. Dark shapes emerged from the stars, like predators appearing from fog. "Sleek needle-like ships locked onto Odyssey. Raise shields!" The captain barked. "Send a distress signal to Earth Command." Daniel's hands trembled as he hit the emergency beacon. The ship vibrated. Energy spikes filled the radar. Within seconds, the unknown ships surrounded them in a perfect circle. It was like they had planned every step. "They're jamming us," Daniel whispered. The signal bars dropped to zero. A deep thud echoed through the hull. Another, then another. Boarding pods. The enemy wasn't firing to destroy. They wanted something on board. The captain shouted orders. Marines rushed to the corridors. The ship's defense systems kicked in. But the attackers moved like shadows, cutting through bulkheads with glowing blades. One by one, security checkpoints fell silent. Daniel's screen flickered. A face appeared, cold, pale, and inhuman. Black eyes like glass marbles stared at him. A voice, metallic and smooth, echoed through the comm. "Surrender the human, or we take all." The captain didn't answer. Instead, the ship fired a desperate volley. Explosions lit the void, but the alien ships danced through them, like hunters playing with prey. Suddenly, the bridge doors burst open. Smoke filled the air. Armored alien soldiers stormed in, tall and thin, with segmented armor that glowed faint red. Their weapons hissed like serpents. 2 Marines fell instantly. Daniel froze. He had no weapon, just his console. One alien pointed at him, speaking in its harsh, clicking language. 2 others grabbed him by the arms before he could react. "Daniel!" The captain yelled, reaching for him, but a blast threw the captain to the floor. More aliens flooded in. Within moments, the bridge belonged to them. Daniel kicked and struggled, but their grip was iron. He saw his crewmates dragged away too. The alien leader looked down at him, tilting its head like a scientist examining a rare specimen. "You are the one," it said in broken English. "The signal will end now." With a hiss, the communication console went dark. The distress beacon was cut off mid-transmission. Somewhere light years away, Earth Command received the last part of his scream. Then silence. The aliens pulled Daniel through the corridors. Fires burned in the distance. Human bodies lay scattered. The ship had fallen without a full battle. It was fast, precise, surgical. They pushed him into a cold metal pod, strapping him down with glowing restraints. He could barely move. A transparent shield slid over his face. Through the glass, he saw the alien boarding ship detach, spinning away from the crippled Odyssey. The cruiser shrank in the window as the alien vessel accelerated into the black. His heart pounded. He didn't know where they were taking him. He didn't even know who they were. Back on Earth, the emergency transmission flashed onto a screen in the War Command Center. Technicians scrambled to stabilize the signal. For 2 seconds, Daniel's terrified face appeared. His voice echoed through the speakers. "This is Odyssey. They're here. They're boarding. Then nothing." The room fell silent. Admiral Elena Reyes, head of Earth's defense fleet, stared at the screen. Around her, diplomats argued in panic. Some called for negotiation. Others demanded patience. "They're inside neutral space," one council representative said. "We cannot act without evidence." "We must avoid evidence," Reyes interrupted coldly. "You just saw his face." She turned to her officers. Trace the signal, every fragment. I want to know where they took him. Admiral, a technician said, the attackers used Takar encryption patterns. But this isn't a public Takar channel, it's military classified. Reyes's jaw tightened. The Takar Dominion, one of the oldest and most feared alien powers. For years, they had signed peace treaties and played politics. But secretly, they had been watching humanity closely. They think we'll stay quiet, Reyes said softly. They're wrong. She walked toward the central command table. The lights dimmed. A giant map of the galaxy appeared above it, glowing like a web of stars. A single red dot blinked near the border. Find him, she ordered, and prepare the fleet. Far away, Daniel's pod arrived at a massive alien fortress hidden inside a fiery nebula. The sky burned orange and red outside the viewports, and huge spires of black metal rose like claws. The alien soldiers dragged him through dark halls into a holding chamber. He was thrown into a cell, cold, dim, humming with energy. He looked through the small glass window at endless alien corridors. Somewhere deep inside this fortress, decisions were being made about his fate. He sat on the floor, breathing hard, his hands clenched. They'll come for me, he whispered to himself. They have to. Outside the cell, alien guards watched silently. One of them pressed a communicator, sending a single message to their high command. The human is secured. Begin Phase 2. The War Command Center on Earth hadn't been this tense in years. The giant star map floated in the air, red dots blinking along the border. The Odyssey's signal was gone. One human, Lieutenant Daniel Cross, was missing somewhere deep in enemy territory. Admiral Elena Reyes stood at the center of the room, hands behind her back, eyes locked on the blinking red dot. Around her, military officers, analysts, and diplomats argued like storm waves crashing into each other. This was a border incident, one alien counselor said through the hololink. You must not respond militarily. It will destabilize the region. Reyes's voice cut through the noise. One of our people was taken. We will find him, and we will bring him home, the counselor frowned. If you attack Takar space without proof, you'll be starting a war you can't win. She leaned forward, her gaze cold and sharp. We've been underestimated before. It never ends well for those who try. Within hours, Earth's defense network shifted into high alert. Satellite shields realigned. Massive orbital shipyards came alive, lighting the night sky like second suns. Civilian traffic was redirected. Every major fleet received the same coded message. Code Black, Priority 1, Mobilization Authorized. Operation Phoenix Flame. Across the solar system, ships that had slept in dry dock for decades powered up. Engines roared, railguns hummed. Soldiers filled hangars. Stealth cruisers detached from hidden bases on the dark side of the moon. Earth wasn't sending a diplomatic mission. Earth was preparing for war. Meanwhile, deep in Takar space, Daniel lay in his cell, staring at the glowing ceiling. Days felt like weeks. He had been questioned, scanned, and left in silence. The aliens wanted to break him slowly, to make him forget that help might come. But Daniel held on to one thing. Earth never left its people behind. He replayed the last moment on the Odyssey, the captain's shout, the alarm, the cold alien eyes. He didn't know where he was, but he knew Earth Command heard his scream. And that was enough to keep his mind sharp. Through the small slit in the wall, he caught glimpses of alien guards passing by. They spoke in clicks and mechanical tones. He didn't understand the language, but he understood their arrogance. They didn't fear consequences. Not yet. Back on Earth, intelligence divisions were racing against time. Hidden signals, warp transmissions, encrypted alien chatter. A young analyst named Sana Patel leaned over her console, decoding fragments of the Odyssey's last burst transmission. Admiral, I found something, she called out. Reyes walked over. Show me. Sana zoomed in on a cluster of faint coordinates buried in the static. It's not random. It's a trace. Daniel tried to send a location just before the line cut. The Admiral's eyes narrowed. The coordinates pointed toward the Ember Nebula, a dangerous sector deep inside Takar space. No human fleet had ever entered it. A quiet silence filled the room. Then Reyes said the words that would change everything. "We're going in." The next hours were a storm of preparation. Massive battleships like Titan, Vanguard, and Valiant Dawn received their mission packets. Thousands of crew members flooded into docking stations. Stealth destroyers vanished into the black. In orbit, a formation of 12 massive dreadnoughts assembled silently, their engines dimmed, their weapon systems armed but cold. They looked like sleeping giants ready to awaken. Admiral Reyes addressed the fleet through a secure broadcast. Her face appeared on every ship's screen. "One of our own has been taken. They think distance and fear will keep us away. They're wrong. We will find him. We will bring him home. And anyone who stands in our way will learn exactly why you never take a human hostage." Crew members roared with approval. The message spread through Earth's networks. Across colonies, people watched in silence. Some were afraid. Others felt a strange, powerful pride. For the first time in decades, the entire human race moved as one. In the Galactic Council, panic grew. Alien ambassadors argued that Earth's mobilization could trigger galactic war. Some demanded sanctions. Others secretly admired Earth's courage. Councillor Shren of the Takar Dominion stood in the center, denying any involvement. "We have no human prisoners," he lied calmly. "This is human paranoia. If they send fleets into our territory, they will face consequences." But not everyone believed him. Several species remembered humanity's history. They remembered what happened during the siege of Europa, the Battle of Sol, and the Centauri stand. Humans might look small on the map, but when they fought like fire. By the third day, Operation Phoenix Flame was in motion. A line of stealth cruisers slipped past the border, vanishing into dark space. Their mission was simple: find the fortress where Daniel was held. Electronic warfare teams flooded the Takar communication net with decoys and fake transmissions. Patrol ships were lured away. Navigation beacons were hacked to misdirect enemy fleets. Earth's forces moved like a shadow army, silent, precise, unstoppable. Daniel didn't know it yet, but the stars outside his cell were changing. Deep scanners on the fortress picked up faint distortions in space, but the alien commanders dismissed them as nebular interference. In the command chamber, an alien officer clicked his mandibles in amusement. "Humans will not come here," he said. "They do not have the courage." He didn't see the stealth ships already passing through their blind spots. He didn't hear the encrypted human messages whispering through the void. He didn't realize Earth's fleet was drawing a line of fire across the galaxy. On Earth, Admiral Reyes stood before the fleet one last time before departure. Through the massive observation windows, she saw the blue curve of the planet below. She whispered to herself, "For one man, we'll shake the stars." Then she turned to her officers. "Set course." Ember Nebula. The command echoed through the fleet. Engines ignited. Space itself seemed to ripple as the human armada began its journey into the unknown. Suspense. Close. Deep inside the alien fortress, Daniel stared at the dark ceiling. Far away, invisible to him, hundreds of warships were already coming for him. The galaxy didn't know it yet. But Earth had started moving. The alien fortress floated like a dark crown inside the Ember Nebula. The glowing red and orange gases wrapped around it like a fiery storm. Huge towers of black metal rose from its core, connected by glowing bridges. Alien ships swarmed like insects around a hive. Daniel Cross sat alone in his small cell. The walls pulsed with a dull energy, making the air hum. His wrists were bruised from the glowing restraints. He had no idea how many days had passed. The lights never changed. There was no sun, no time, just silence. Every few hours, the aliens came. They didn't ask questions in a normal way. They used strange devices that scanned his memories, played distorted human voices, and showed him terrifying images. Earth cities burning, families screaming, ships exploding. It was psychological warfare. They wanted him to give up information, to fear, to break. But Daniel had trained for capture scenarios. He closed his eyes, focused on one thing: home. He pictured the ocean, his sister's laughter, his mother's kitchen. He whispered to himself, "They're coming. I know they're coming." One day, during the routine food delivery, the guard hesitated at the door. Daniel noticed something unusual, a tiny piece of paper, folded and slipped under his metal tray. His heart skipped a beat. No human would be able to get this far, unless they already had. When the guard left, Daniel unfolded the paper carefully. It wasn't human writing, it was alien. But at the bottom, a simple message in English appeared, clearly written by someone who wasn't fluent. Grid weak. 3 cycles. Wait. Daniel stared at it. Someone inside the fortress had sent him a message. Someone wanted him to survive. He hid the paper under the metal floor panel and sat still, forcing his heartbeat to slow. For the first time since his capture, hope felt real. Elsewhere, far from the fortress, Earth's stealth ships glided silently through the nebula. Their hulls were coated with adaptive panels that bent light, hiding them from alien sensors. Commander Hale, leader of the Ghost Recon Unit, studied the holographic model of the fortress. "They built this place to be invisible," he said quietly. "But not to us." Dozens of covert operatives, trained for deep infiltration, floated in drop pods waiting for the signal. Earth had spent decades preparing for war it hoped would never come. Now those plans were alive. "We have one objective," Hale told his team. "Get Daniel out. Everything else burns if needed." Inside the alien command chamber, high-ranking Takar officers clicked and hissed around a circular table. A hologram of Daniel floated in the center. "He is only one human," one officer said. "Why do they value him so much?" Another officer, older and with scars across his carapace, replied coldly, "Humans have a sickness. They think each life is worth a war. That is their weakness." A third leaned forward. "Then let us use him. Send a message to their council. Offer them his life in exchange for their surrender." The room filled with cruel laughter. They thought they understood humanity. They didn't. Back in Daniel's cell, time passed slowly. Then exactly 3 cycles later, as the message had said, he heard a faint pop from the wall. A panel shifted slightly, and a small, thin creature crawled through, not a soldier but a scientist. Its hands shook as it pressed a device against the glowing restraint field, briefly shorting it. Daniel's eyes widened.
"Who are you?"
The alien spoke in broken English. "Nameer Lyra. I work energy systems. I see what they do wrong. Help you," Daniel whispered. "Why?" Lyra looked away. "Takar Empire. Cruel. They lie. You must live. If you die, fire will come." "I know humans." Daniel almost laughed. Even in a place like this, the truth had found cracks. Lyra handed him a small metal chip. When alarm. "Ring put in door panel." "It make way out. Quiet." Then, just as silently, the little scientist disappeared back through the wall. Meanwhile, outside the fortress, Earth's infiltration team prepared for descent. Tiny drop pods launched from the stealth ships, entering the nebula like falling sparks. Alien radar didn't notice. The background radiation hid them perfectly. Commander Hale whispered through the comms, "Ghost team, this is it. Stay dark. Pods attached to the lower structure of the fortress like barnacles on a ship." Human soldiers in matte black suits emerged, using magnetic boots and silent cutters to open hidden maintenance shafts. They moved like shadows in a steel maze. No gunfire, no alarms, just heartbeat monitors and quiet breathing. In the alien observation deck, 2 guards were arguing about shift rotations. They didn't see the human operative slide down behind them. A flash of motion. Both went down silently. The humans dragged the bodies away, covering every trace, using stolen access codes and hacked panels. Ghost team advanced deeper. One of the soldiers pointed at the map. "Cell blocks are ahead. We're close." In Daniel's cell, the lights suddenly flickered. A faint alarm echoed through the fortress. Not a full alert, just enough to cause distraction. Daniel's hands shook as he took the chip Lyra had given him and pressed it into the door panel. For a second, nothing happened. Then, click! The glowing shield flickered and died. He slowly opened the door, peeking into the hallway. 2 guards were running toward the upper levels, leaving the corridor empty. Daniel stepped out. His heart raced. He didn't know where to go. but something in the air told him he wasn't alone anymore. Deep in the fortress, Commander Hale whispered into his mic, "Target cell is 2 corridors north. We move now." The human team advanced in perfect silence. Motion sensors were jammed. Cameras looped on fake feeds. For every second that passed, the trap closed tighter around the alien guards, without them knowing. In the alien control room, a technician frowned. Strange energy fluctuation in Sector 7. The officer dismissed it. "It's the nebula interference." "Ignore it." Big mistake. Daniel turned a corner and froze. 2 human soldiers were there. They lifted their helmets slightly, showing familiar human eyes. One whispered, "Lieutenant Cross." Daniel nodded, stunned. "You're real." "Always were," the soldier replied with a grin. "Let's go home." They handed him a stealth cloak and led him down the hallway. For the first time, Daniel wasn't a prisoner. He was part of an escape. Suspense. Close. As they disappeared into the dark tunnels, red warning lights suddenly flashed across the fortress. Sirens wailed. Alien voices shouted. On the main screen, stealth anomalies finally registered. The fortress commander rose from his chair, alarm spreading across his face. "Humans," he hissed. "They're inside." The Ember Nebula burned like fire in the void. Behind its glowing storm, the human fleet waited in silence. Massive dreadnoughts, sleek cruisers, and agile strike ships floated in formation, engines cold. Weapons primed, Admiral Elena Reyes stood on the command deck of the flagship Titan. The bridge was dim, only the soft blue glow of tactical maps lighting the air. Her eyes locked on the holographic projection of the alien fortress. Deep inside, Daniel Cross had just been found. Ghost Team reports visual on the target, the communications officer said. "Extraction in progress." Reyes gave a single nod. "Then it begins." She turned to her weapons commander. "Arm the railguns, load the kinetic lances, and bring the hammer online." The crew moved like a single machine. Massive barrels extended from the dreadnoughts, locking on coordinates with silent precision. There would be no warning shots, no negotiations. This was retaliation. Inside the fortress, Daniel moved quickly through dim maintenance corridors, guided by the soldiers who had found him. He wore a stealth cloak over his uniform, its panels flickering to match the walls. Behind them, faint alarms grew louder. "Security systems are waking up," one of the soldiers whispered. Daniel asked, "What's the plan?" "We get you out. Then everyone else gets out fast," the soldier replied. "The fleet's coming." Daniel's eyes widened. "The fleet?" "Yeah," the soldier said with a half-smile. "You didn't think they'd leave you here, did you?" In the alien command chamber, confusion turned to panic. Red lights flashed across the walls. Operators shouted in their clicking language, scanning systems for intruders, multiple anomalies across lower sectors. One shouted, another officer bared its sharp mandibles. "Activate internal drones, seal every section. Find them." Suddenly the main screen filled with new data, massive space-time disturbances on the edge of the nebula. One of the officers stared at the readings. "This can't be," he muttered. No species would be foolish enough to attack here. But humanity was not like other species. Back on Titan, the countdown began. "Stealth shells stable," the weapons officer said. "Target lock confirmed. All ships reporting ready." Reyes raised her hand slowly. "For every human they think they can take," she said quietly, "we answer with fire." Her hand dropped. "All ships, fire." The first strike was silent, almost gentle. Then the darkness exploded. Dozens of kinetic lances shot forward, metal rods traveling faster than bullets, glowing white-hot as they pierced through space. They hit the fortress's outer ring a heartbeat later. Boom! Shockwaves rippled through the nebula. Towers snapped like matchsticks. Shield generators overloaded in a flash of light. Entire sections of the fortress were torn open before alarms could even finish sounding. Seconds later, railgun rounds followed, huge slugs smashing through hull plating and control towers. No energy beams, no flashy lasers, just raw, brutal force. Inside the fortress, Daniel and the soldiers felt the ground shake. A deep rumble filled the corridors. Distant explosions echoed like thunder. "What's happening?" Daniel shouted over the noise. One soldier grinned. "That's Earth saying hello." Ceiling panels cracked. Lights flickered. The fortress had never been attacked like this. It had been built to intimidate, not to withstand a human-first strike. In the alien command room, officers screamed orders. "Shields are down!" Outer ring collapsing. "Deploy fleet!" Another barked. Hundreds of alien ships scrambled from their docks, but outside, the human armada was already waiting. The dreadnought Vanguard opened fire first, launching a barrage of guided rail slugs. Human fighters swarmed forward in tight formations, cutting through alien squadrons with disciplined precision. The Takar fleet was caught completely off guard. Deep in the fortress, Daniel's group reached a hangar bay. The soldiers opened a panel, revealing a small stealth shuttle hidden inside. "This is our ride," the pilot said, powering it up. "But we'll need a clear corridor," one of the soldiers tapped his comm. "Ghost team to Hammer Command. We're at Bay 3. Need a path cleared now." "Copy that," came the reply. Outside, Admiral Reyes received the coordinates. She turned to the tactical officer. "Open a hole now." The human fleet shifted like a living beast. Two cruisers dove into the nebula, launching electronic warfare drones to jam the alien tracking grid. A wave of bombers struck the hangar's defensive towers, turning them into glowing debris. "Path is clear," the officer confirmed. "Then let's bring him home," Reyes said. Daniel strapped into the shuttle seat as the engines hummed to life. For the first time in days, he felt air rushing against his face that didn't taste like metal and fear. The shuttle lifted off, slipping through the burning hangar into the chaos outside. Alien fighters tried to intercept, but human interceptors dove in like hawks, tearing them apart with precise rail bursts. In the command chamber, alien officers watched in disbelief. "They're inside our core," one whispered. "They're not here to conquer," another realized. "They came for one man." The commander slammed his clawed hand against the console. "Then they will drown in their arrogance." But even as he shouted, the fortress structure began collapsing. One of the massive towers, cracked by kinetic fire, snapped and fell into the central core, causing chain explosions. The shuttle sped toward the human fleet. Alien ships tried to pursue, but human cruisers blocked their path, unleashing coordinated fire that shredded anything that got close. On the bridge of Titan, Reyes watched the shuttle's signal grow stronger. "We've got him," the comm officer said. A cheer spread through the crew, quiet but powerful. They hadn't won yet, but the heart of the mission was beating again. But the battle was far from over. Dozens of Takar reinforcements emerged from hyperspace near the nebula, larger than anything Earth had faced so far. Their formations were messy, but their numbers were overwhelming. On Titan, alarms flared. "Admiral, new signatures, massive fleet incoming." Reyes stared at the growing wave of red dots. "So," she whispered, "they finally woke up." She straightened her uniform. "Tell the fleet, hold the line." Inside the shuttle, Daniel gripped the seat straps. Outside the window, space was on fire. Human and alien ships clashing between glowing clouds of the nebula. For a brief moment he understood something. Earth hadn't just come to rescue him. It had come to make a statement. Suspense. Close. As the shuttle raced toward the fleet, alien reinforcements spread like a storm. The fortress burned behind them, but the real fight was just beginning. In the distance, the galaxy was watching, and Earth's answer had just shaken the stars. The Ember Nebula was no longer a quiet corner of space. It had become a storm. Flames, wreckage, and drifting hulls filled the void. Human and alien fleets clashed in a battle that the galaxy would never forget. On the flagship Titan, Admiral Elena Reyes stood like stone, as wave after wave of alien reinforcements appeared on the tactical display. Red dots filled the screen. The Takar were finally responding, but they were late. The fortress was already burning, and Daniel Cross was no longer their prisoner. "Status of the shuttle?" Reyes asked. "Halfway to the fleet, Admiral." "Escort fighters are holding the line," the comm officer answered. "Good," Reyes said. "Keep them clear. We're not losing him now." Across the galaxy, news spread like wildfire. Dozens of civilizations watched the battle in shock. Galactic relay stations picked up fragments of the fight, burning alien ships, kinetic strikes lighting up the nebula, and human war machines cutting through Tikar formations with cold precision. On neutral planets, people gathered around holoscreens. Some were horrified. Others whispered in awe. They went this far. For one man, an alien merchant muttered in disbelief. A historian on another world shook his head. This is what they do. They don't fight for empire. They fight for each other. That's what makes them dangerous. In the Galactic Council chamber, chaos erupted. Dozens of ambassadors shouted over each other. Some demanded Earth's withdrawal. Others called for Tikar punishment. Councillor Vash slammed his hand against the table. You all mocked them. You all thought the humans were soft. Look at the screens now, a Tikar representative hissed in defense. They have violated our space. They have attacked a sovereign installation. They attacked because you kidnapped their officer. Another ambassador snapped. You started this. The council leader tried to calm the room, but the truth was already clear. No one could stop what was happening. Earth had chosen its path. Back in the Ember Nebula, the human shuttle carrying Daniel weaved through debris. Behind it, alien ships regrouped for a counterattack, enemy fighters closing. The pilot shouted. Daniel tightened his grip. He wasn't a soldier, but the sight of Earth's ships fighting for him filled his chest with something fierce. Suddenly, a swarm of human interceptors appeared on their flank, guns blazing. They tore through the alien fighters like wolves tearing through a pack. Path is open! A pilot yelled over comms. The shuttle shot through the gap like a bullet. On Titan, alarms flared as its signal approached. Shuttle entering hangar bay, the officer reported. Reyes turned slowly toward the screen. She allowed herself a rare, quiet breath. Welcome home, Lieutenant. The shuttle landed hard inside Titan's main bay. Medical teams rushed forward. The doors opened, and Daniel stumbled out, blinking against the bright lights. Crew members saluted him. Some cheered softly. Others simply nodded, understanding what his rescue meant. Admiral Reyes walked in, her presence cutting through the noise. She stopped in front of Daniel. Lieutenant Cross, she said. Daniel stood straight despite his exhaustion. Ma'am, her eyes softened slightly. You held on. That's good. We're not done yet. He managed a tired smile. I figured you'd come. She looked toward the observation window, where the nebula burned outside. Oh, we came. While Daniel was taken to the med bay, the battle outside grew more brutal. Alien reinforcements poured in, trying to surround the human fleet. Massive cruisers launched wave after wave of drones and plasma blasts. But human formations held tight. Every ship moved with purpose, like pieces on a board. Railguns fired in perfect rhythm. Stealth ships flanked the enemy, cutting off supply routes. Bombers targeted engines instead of hulls, crippling entire wings in minutes. Alien commanders expected chaos. Instead, they met cold, organized fury. On one alien carrier, a Tikar captain watched in disbelief as another squadron was wiped out. They are just one planet, he said bitterly. How can they fight like this? His officer replied, voice shaking. They fight like they have nothing to lose. The captain stared at the burning fortress through the viewport. No, he whispered. They fight like they have already decided to win. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council's news feeds played footage of the fortress collapse. Civilians from dozens of species saw the same shocking image. A human dreadnought firing a single kinetic lance straight through a Tikar defense tower, splitting it in half like paper. For generations, the Tikar had ruled through fear. Now that fear was shifting, other species began asking questions. If humans would burn the stars for one of their own, what would they do if their entire world was threatened? Inside Titan, Admiral Reyes stood over the main holotable. A clear map showed the alien reinforcements closing in. The fleet was outnumbered but not outmaneuvered. Admiral, her tactical officer said, the enemy is trying to encircle us. They're throwing everything they have. Reyes narrowed her eyes. And we're going to show them what everything means. She tapped a glowing section of the map. Signal the fleet. Begin Phase 2. Across the armada, human ships received the coded command. Engines roared to life. Formations shifted rapidly, breaking the tight line and transforming into a hammer and anvil maneuver. Alien ships lunged forward, thinking the humans were retreating. Instead, hidden human strike groups emerged from the nebula, stealth frigates and bombers that had been waiting silently. They struck from behind like a blade through the ribs. Alien formations shattered. Panic spread through their ranks. One after another, their flagships blinked off the grid. The battle's intensity reached new heights. The galaxy was watching, every moment broadcast across networks. Some saw chaos. Others saw a message written in fire. "You don't take one of ours, ever." On Titan, Daniel lay on the medbay bed, bruised but alive. Through the window, he saw flashes of light in the distance, Earth's ships pushing back against overwhelming numbers. A medic adjusted his monitor. "Rest," she said. "You're safe now." Daniel shook his head slowly. "No, I'm home. But they're not finished." Suspense close. Outside the nebula, deep space sensors picked up something massive. The Takar Empire's core fleet was moving toward the battlefield. The real storm was coming. Admiral Reyes stared at the readings and whispered, "Let them come." The sensors aboard the Titan began to scream. Alarms echoed through every corridor. On the main display, a massive wave of red dots surged toward the Ember Nebula. This was not just another reinforcement fleet. This was the Takar Empire's core armada, thousands of ships, gigantic carriers, battle platforms that hadn't moved for centuries. Their arrival darkened the stars. Admiral Elena Reyes stood at the front of the command deck. The crew fell silent as the scale of the incoming force appeared. "They've sent everything," whispered the tactical officer. Reyes nodded slowly. "Good, we're done playing." Across the nebula, the human fleet reformed, battered but unbroken. The fortress lay in ruins, drifting like a shattered monument. Debris floated through glowing gas clouds. Human ships turned their hulls toward the incoming enemy like wolves facing a bear. The comm officer looked up. "Admiral, the Takar fleet is demanding your surrender. They're broadcasting wide band. Put them on," Reyes said. The bridge lights dimmed as a hologram flickered to life. A Takar High Commander appeared, tall, armored in black metal, with glowing red eyes. His voice was cold and proud. "Human Admiral," he hissed, "you have violated our territory. You have destroyed our fortress. Surrender now, or your fragile fleets will burn with your homeworld." Reyes didn't flinch. "You took one of ours. You thought we would bow. Instead, we came to your doorstep. You think you can stand against us?" The alien snarled. "This is the heart of our empire." Reyes leaned closer to the projector. "No, this is where you made your biggest mistake." She ended the transmission. The bridge fell into silence, a heavy, dangerous silence that came before storms. The human fleet spread out into battle formation. Dreadnoughts took the center, cruisers formed protective wings, and stealth frigates vanished into the nebula to flank from behind. Reyes gave the order in a calm voice. "Signal all ships, Operation Firestorm. Maximum aggression." Across the fleet, captains repeated the words. Engines roared. Weapon systems glowed like suns. The humans didn't wait for the Takar to attack. They charged. The two forces met in a blinding storm of light and metal. Railgun slugs ripped through alien shields. Plasma cannons from the Takar struck human armor, lighting up space with burning trails. Fighter squadrons tangled in chaotic dogfights between nebula clouds. Human stealth ships appeared behind the Takar's flank, launching precision torpedoes into their command ships. Explosions rippled through their formation like dominoes. The Takar had numbers, but humans had strategy, speed, and fury. In the medbay, Daniel Cross struggled to sit up, watching the battle through the viewing screen. His body was weak, but his heart pounded with pride. He saw Earth's ships stand against overwhelming force without hesitation. A medic tried to push him back. "You need rest." He shook his head. "I need to see this." Back on the bridge, the enemy's flagship broke through the smoke, a massive vessel the size of a small moon. Its forward batteries lit up, unleashing a devastating volley that tore through two human cruisers. Reyes clenched her fists. They're trying to break our line. Focus the hammer on that flagship. The hammer was Earth's most powerful kinetic weapon, a long-range accelerator built into the Titan's spine. It took minutes to charge, but when it fired, it could tear through planets. Charging sequence started, the weapons officer said. 80 seconds to fire, alien ships swarmed, desperate to stop the charge. Human fighters formed a wall around the Titan, buying precious seconds. Every second mattered. The Takar commander laughed over open comms. "Your toy will not save you," Reyes answered with steel in her voice. "It's not for saving, it's for remembering." Meanwhile, deep inside the Takar fleet, human stealth bombers struck critical supply ships. Fuel lines detonated. Communication hubs went dark. Chaos spread through their command structure. Alien officers screamed for order. But the humans were already inside their walls, dismantling their massive force piece by piece. Firing sequence, 10 seconds, the weapons officer called. Reyes stood tall. Her voice echoed through the fleet-wide channel. "This is Admiral Reyes. Today they learn humanity doesn't surrender. We protect our own, and when you come for one of us, the hammer cannon fired. We burn everything." A blinding beam of kinetic energy ripped across space, faster than light. It struck the Takar flagship dead center. For a brief moment the ship held, shields flaring, armor cracking. Then the entire core collapsed inward. The resulting explosion shook the entire battlefield, a blinding starburst that lit up the nebula like day. Dozens of nearby alien ships were caught in the blast, shredded in an instant. The Takar fleet wavered. Their commander was gone, their strongest ship destroyed in front of the galaxy. The remaining human fleet didn't hesitate. They pushed forward with ruthless precision. Alien ships began retreating in disarray, chased by railgun fire and torpedo strikes. What began as an overwhelming Takar show of power ended as a desperate scramble to survive. Across the galaxy, billions watched live feeds of the battle's end. The fortress was gone. The fleet was broken. When human life had set the galaxy on fire, on neutral worlds, whispers grew louder. If this is what they do for one man, imagine what they'll do if anyone threatens Earth itself. Daniel watched the Takar flagship's explosion from his bed, light reflecting in his tired eyes. He whispered, "They came for me." The medic beside him smiled softly. "They always will." When the last alien ship vanished into hyperspace, silence filled the Titan. Reyes stood on the bridge, watching the glowing wreckage drift through the nebula. Her first officer approached. "Orders, Admiral?" She looked out into the stars. "We're done here. Plot a course home." The fleet slowly turned toward Sul. Behind them, the Ember Nebula still burned, a warning written in light for all to see. Days later, back on Earth, Daniel stepped off the shuttle onto the landing platform. Crowds gathered behind security lines, waving flags, cheering. Cameras floated overhead. He wasn't a hero because of what he did. He was a symbol of what humanity had done for him. Admiral Reyes stood beside him as they walked past the salute line. "You survived," she said. He smiled faintly. "Because you didn't give up on me." She looked up at the stars. "We never will." Suspense closing hook. Far across the galaxy, in the Takar homeworld's dark council chambers, surviving commanders gathered. They stared at the holographic replay of their defeat in silence. One of them finally said, "They will come again, and next time, we will be ready." But somewhere deep down they all knew Earth had changed the balance forever.